Welcome to week 4. As we approach the halfway point of our course, I'm reminded of something in the military we call halfway night. When we're on deployment and the halfway point of that deployment is reached, we tend to celebrate. Get together, maybe have some homemade pizza, ice cream, make fun of one another in a fun sort of way, and start looking forward to the second half of that deployment. All good things. Although it does come with an unintended side effect. Sometimes there's a tendency to get over the hump and start looking forward to the next class, or maybe if this is your last class, start looking forward to something other than the week in which we're in. And that can sometimes lead to dire consequences. So what I encourage you to do is celebrate how far you've come, but also make sure you stay focused on where we are each week. Speaking of this week, we get some more practical tips from our authors. We'll start with Kruger and Casey. We're going to read chapters 1, 2, and 4. They offer some really good practical advice, especially in chapter 1. And remember, they give us this advice based upon years of experience. So let's learn from their experience so we don't make the same mistakes that they share or that other researchers make. It'll help ensure that you make the most of your valuable and finite time. Specifically, they give us 2 reasons that they believe that group experiences turn into wasted time. They talk about an unclear purpose or inappropriate processes. Now, we talked about purpose last week. We'll talk about it again just about every week. Make sure you stay true to that purpose. And then they talk about processes. There's some very good tips from our authors that help us ensure that those processes are the best that they can be and are focused again on that purpose. According to Kruger and Casey, focus groups work when participants feel comfortable, respected, and free to give their opinions without being judged. It sounds pretty simple, but it actually is very difficult to pull off and requires a lot of experience and a lot of patience on the part of the interviewer. So I offer that. Make sure you pay attention to that and do your best as you can going through this course to take aboard of those lessons about helping people feel open to share their opinions without being judged. Now, the key to success to this is obviously much harder than it first appears, but with some practice, you'll feel much more comfortable, and more importantly, your interviewees will feel more comfortable giving you the information you're looking for. We also get some questions to consider from Kruger and Casey, such as what is the purpose of the study? Again, that purpose. What is the problem that we're trying to address? What kinds of information do you want, and what types of information are more important? And then finally, how will you use that information? Keeping that end in mind will help you throughout your study. We have a great reading from Aldori and Toth from 2004 where they explore leadership and gender in public relations. And one thing I'll point out is that this study used both quantitative and qualitative methods. This is very common. Oftentimes you'll have researchers who will combine those, or one time I did a study for the Navy and I actually used quantitative data as part of my secondary research, and then I conducted my own interviews. And the nice thing about that is that you have both the hard numbers that you find in quantitative methods along with those flexible, exploratory, rich descriptions that you'll find in qualitative. So my experience has found that that's very helpful. Not required all the time, but if you can do it or rely on someone else's quantitative data to kind of support or guide your qualitative process, that's helpful as well. And sometimes the inverse is true. Sometimes you'll conduct some qualitative research and someone or yourself may decide to use that to help guide some questions that you're exploring or using for surveys that will be part of a quantitative. So there's some interaction between qualitative and quantitative research. Take a look at the research questions that Aldori and Toth provide. I'll read them for you here. What leadership style is perceived as the best or most appropriate for public relations? Their second research question was, how do sex differences in respondents affect perceptions of leadership style? And then the third research question was, how do respondents perceive a gendered nature of leadership in public relations? Now, hopefully when you read those research questions, you'll see how they lend themselves to a mixed study. There's some information that would be very helpful in the quantitative world, but also qualitatively through the interviews, there would be a lot of information that would be helpful. Well, that's it for now. Again, congratulations on making it to the halfway point. Remember to stay focused, stay ahead with all your assignments, stay engaged in the discussion board, and as always, enjoy this time of learning.